empowering women, encouraging people, uplifting communities.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Kimberly Bennett Show. Thank you once again for joining. I have a guest today, and I'm going to let her tell you about who she is. But she's a doctor, has been for many years. Matter of fact, she's my personal doctor. And we're going to pick her brain today and ask her some things about addiction and maybe learn a thing or two. Everyone has someone in their family who has struggled or is struggling. So hopefully today we can walk away with a better idea of what we need to do to assist. Dr. Chatman, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Well, I'm so happy to be here, Miss Bennett. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So I have a few questions that I think will enlighten us and the audience and give us a little bit more knowledge about some of the things that we struggle with, or our family, or someone that we love. And one is, how do you define addiction from a clinical perspective?
Well, if I could just say, I'm Dr. Sylmara Chatman, and I am a board-certified family practitioner here in Southfield, Michigan. I've been practicing for well over 27 years and have helped many of my patients with various types of addictive or addiction challenges. And it can affect everyone and anyone and any walk of life, any background. It just, it is an issue that is pretty much epidemic proportion now in the United States, especially since COVID. We've got far more problems with addiction, even overdose, suicide, mental health, just the entire gamut since we, had to deal with the COVID. Yeah, it was really devastating. But, what happens when someone becomes addicted is the definition or the reason is that they are not able to regulate many times their emotions, their pleasure centers, their ability to feel happiness. Depression is a huge issue. Anxiety is a huge issue. And as a result of that, many people will self-medicate and develop addictive behavior and addictive disorders. When you can no longer control impulses or urges to utilize substances that are used to self-medicate to help with depression, anxiety, to escape from the reality of your world, of your existence.
Right.
And when you seek outside substances to cope with that you can no longer control, that is clinically when we determine that you may have an addictive disorder. And so many times that addictive disorder will absolutely interfere with your daily activity. When it starts to interfere with your ability to go to work, your ability
Right.
to function, your ability to do the things that you need to do on a regular basis to make money, to even eat a healthy diet, you are most likely addicted. It's impulsive and you can't control it.
Right. What are the primary risk factors that increase in individuals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it many times it starts in childhood. If you come from a family that is emotionally or physically abusive, if you come from a family where there is a family history of substance abuse, we know now that genetics plays a role in someone's propensity to develop a substance abuse. If you are someone that has a family history of a lot of alcohol abuse, that's another issue that will increase your chances of developing a substance abuse. So many times it has to do with what's happened in childhood, what your upbringing was, what your genetics, is, and even your ability to cope, your coping mechanism. And if you have a decreased tolerance or ability to do that, you are going to be more prone to just do developing a substance abuse addiction, and it is truly something that's generally used for self-medication.
Okay. Okay, that's some good information. Can you explain the brain's role in addiction? I don't know if this can really be how in
Um,
depth that we can
yeah.
really explain. We know it's
So
different.
yes, it is
Yeah.
different. And what
Yeah.
we have found in studies is that we do brain imaging in people that have substance abuse disorders. And we found that there is decreased activity in what we call the frontal cortex of the brain. There's decreased activity there that when the frontal cortex isn't working properly, you aren't able to make good decisions. There is the potential for drug abuse and you know different sort of problems like that becomes higher. So the chemical changes are actually seen in the brain, primarily in the frontal cortex, where personality, decision making, and things like that are.
Okay.
So there has been tests and scans, PET scans, and things like that that can show the brain is different.
So, what about when they're dual, like they are addicted to multiple drugs? Can you treat two different addictions like the same way? Like alcohol have many different brands, but AA will help it all.
See,
Yeah.
what happens, Kimberly, is that the brain circuits are different. And um, when someone has, especially a addiction to something like heroin or an opiate or something like that, their dopamine receptors are actually less active. And so the brain, the sensitivity, and that's kind of their, it's where their pleasure center is. And so they tend, and opioids connect with the mu receptors. And so they really want to try to re-experience the pleasure.
Right.
And when the circuits in the brain are no longer functioning as well as they should, and you truly become less sensitive, the dopamine receptors are definitely less sensitive in the way that they need to be. Addictions and the ability and the need and the craving for that increases more and more and more. So when you're dealing with different types of addictions and different substances, you have to understand that those substances and those drugs affect the brain differently. And so
Right.
when you're working with someone from a cognitive standpoint, meaning the emotional part of it, it's very important to understand what type of drug addiction they have, because the approach would, may vary because of the types or the classes of drugs that they may be addicted to.
Right. Like I know a lot of people may smoke weed and feel that that's a little different than, let's say, crack cocaine. So
Hmm.
there's different treatment for both, would you say?
Hmm.
But
You know,
go ahead. We have to
right.
withdraw from both, but there's certain
So,
steps over here for the
yeah.
cocaine that will be different over here for the weed. Am I correct?
And you are correct in that. But there are definitely similarities because you have to deal with the mental health, the emotional
Right.
part. the reasons that that person is actually craving or looking for some sort of outside substance to help
Right.
them cope or feel good or feel better about actually it's escapism, why they feel the need to escape from whatever their reality is. And
And
that has to be dealt with no matter what the substance is.
right.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it. We specialize in helping the self-employed and people just like you that need affordable health insurance to get it. We have short and long-term health insurance plans, and some even cover dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Don't take a risk with your family's health insurance. It's not worth it. If you're self-employed or now need affordable health insurance, call right now and learn for free how to get it. Listen, affordable health insurance plans for everyone just like you are a free phone call away. So give us a shout right now.
Call 877-791-2642. That's 877-791-2642. 877-791-2642.
So it's like I hear a lot that we're always looking for that first awesome try,
Right.
which
Yeah.
from understanding you'll never get again. But
No.
they spend years chasing
Chasing
that
that
first,
high.
and avoiding everything else, but want that. But it could go on for years and years and for life,
Yeah.
but you will still never get that first that
That
I would
first
say kind of
hit.
addicted you.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
generally happens. It's such an amazing high for some people
Right.
that they've never, I guess, experienced that level of euphoria.
Right.
And as a result of that, they're constantly chasing it. And the problem is, as your brain starts to downregulate or adapt to whatever the substance is, it requires more and more and more on a physiologic and a chemical level just to reach some semblance of euphoria. So they're constantly chasing that first high, but at the same time they're never going to get it because now the brain needs more and more and more just to
Right.
feel something.
Right.
So they
Right.
become addicted. And it's so unfortunate because it is truly something that person cannot control.
Right.
It is so difficult. And so and that's why you'll hear people, whether it's alcohol addiction or some sort of, drug of some sort of their choice, they will tell you that it's always, it's a constant struggle. Even though
Right.
they may be clean and sober for a long period of time, that urge
Right.
never goes.
So for those who are addicted, how traumatic does having a mental illness on top of that? How much more difficult could recovery really be?
Yeah.
We've got two different things to treat here. One, so what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is very difficult because, again, it's the mental health disorder that probably fueled or led them to seek
Drug
out
addiction.
substances. Yeah. And so they pretty much go hand in hand. I don't know that you're going to find someone addicted to drugs that doesn't have some underlying mental health issue, whether it's depression, anxiety, something else is going on. And there usually is some history of a traumatic experience in their life. And unfortunately, for many of them, it is childhood. Something happened then. And so their entire ability to cope in the depression and set up or started at that point. And now they're seeking an outside substance, again, for escapism, but it's self-medicating. They don't
Right.
like to take the prescription medicine because the prescription medicine many times has so many side effects that
Right.
that person can feel and they don't like.
Right.
um and so as a result, and this is whether we're talking about depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, any, bipolar, it doesn't matter. Mental health and substance abuse pretty much go hand in hand. And so when you're working with someone like that, or when I have had people with these challenges in my practice, it has to be a two-pronged approach. They must have psychotherapy to deal
Right.
with the emotional issues that probably have been buried in their lives for years. But at the same time, the substance abuse treatment is very important. And where I come in many times, the physical health, your diet has everything to do with
Right.
your ability to have a better mental health. And so making sure that the person or encouraging them to have a healthier diet, which many times is low on the list because they're
Right.
fighting for their lives and they're in a struggle, most of the time. They feel that. But having a proper diet is immensely important. And one of the reasons I'll say, Kimberly, is that serotonin, which is your body's natural antidepressant. In
Okay.
fact, you must have serotonin levels stable or insufficient in order for the antidepressant medication to work, because it is a natural antidepressant. And about probably 20 different medications that we can prescribe for depression and anxiety are all formulated to work with serotonin, natural serotonin, and I call it your happiness hormone.
Right.
95 to 98% of your body's serotonin is made in your gut. So if you don't have proper gut health, and that's a
Right.
whole other conversation actually. If you don't have proper gut health, if you don't have a good healthy diet, if you have digestive problems, and most people with mental health issues have concomitant digestive issues, they
Okay.
will not have enough of the chemical in their body so that the medication that's prescribed will even work. So there's an approach that has to happen from their primary care doctor to help them understand and to give them the proper steps so that they can have a healthy gut environment, their gut flora, their microbiome, the formation and the production of serotonin, so that they have a chance with any medication that they may be prescribed, or naturally find ways to help themselves. But it's so many different pieces of the puzzle to help someone with addiction.
Right. So where do you think we are as far as really helping? Sometimes the wheel just goes.
It spins, doesn't it?
It really does. It spins, and it's like, okay, well, the last 10 years it's been okay. The last 20, it's like, when do we acquire a real change? And then the breakdown over the family over the last few decades.
Right.
I think that plays a big part as well,
Yeah,
with helping a family member, because where's grandma, where's mom,
yeah, that's right.
so the root of the family is somewhat uprooted right now,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think you pretty much answered the question. That's why it's so much of a struggle, and it's worse than ever.
Right.
I mean, we have more substance abuse issues and depression and anxiety and suicide now than ever. And a
Right.
large part of that is exactly everything you just said. People with these struggles, and it can be anyone in your family, right? It doesn't matter your walk of life or income bracket. I
Right.
mean, it
Right.
has no boundaries. But anyone, they can't do this by themselves. It requires a village.
It
It
does.
requires a team. And you have to have a sufficient um, healthy support system around you, the emotional support. When you fall off and you want to die and you want to do things, you got to have somebody that'll help pull you along the way and put their arms around you, because it is very they can't control it, and it takes a village. So you really answer the question. Right now, we don't have a family structure. It's just completely fallen apart the way it from how it had been 50 years ago. And as long as this is our existence, especially in the African American community, we have the highest of just about everything, right? And it's just not good. And as long as that's our existence, where we don't have the mother and the father in the home, I don't care what anybody says, you need both if you can. You really do. And so, because it's a lot of work just having a healthy family, let alone family members with the challenge.
You are so correct.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It takes a village.
Yes. So Dr. Chatman, I want to thank you for taking time for me to educate us and the listeners, the viewers. I thank you for making yourself available, and I'll speak with you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Bless you.
Cars will break down, and when they do, it's too late. If your car is out of warranty, it leaves you with two choices: get stuck paying for expensive repairs, or one phone call to CarShield. Their administrators pay for your covered repairs so you don't have to. Your coverage includes roadside assistance, towing, rental, and so much more. Plus, with their nationwide network, you choose the mechanic or dealer. Best of all, there's coverage for every wallet size. Make the smart call before it's too late. Call CarShield today.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for staying tuned. We're going to move on to our next guest, this very important topic of addiction. And joining us is going to be Cy Young. Welcome, Cy. How are you?
It's good to see you. All is well.
You as well. So I have a few questions for you. And as you answer them, I may have a little input myself, because I'm not a stranger to the topic.
Got that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, what preventive strategies can be implemented at the community or policy level to reduce the onset of addiction?
I think the most important part is education at a community or grassroots level. The hardest part is to watch people go through an addiction or become addicted because they didn't have the information, and what they see is people who are actively using. And if it's in the household, it's even more difficult to get away from it. But it's also could be the neighbors, it could be somebody that you go to school with if they're young children. It could even be somebody that you work with. And there's no, we can hide our addiction for a minute, but at some point, it comes rolling out all by itself.
It shows up.
It does. It shows up. But I think education at a grassroots level first, and then a little bit more formalized. At this point, I need to do more of the clinical side. Mine has been almost all grassroots from learning, but I learned because I've been addicted before, so
right.
I had to learn the hard way.
Right. Okay. Next question. Are there any emerging trends or innovations in addiction treatment that you believe holds promise?
Go
ahead.
I was trying to remember something that the guest prior to me mentioned about the medicine, and we know so much more now than we used to. When I was going through my addiction with cocaine, I didn't think anything about serotonin. I just felt like it felt good to be high. Right. I wasn't hiding from anything. It just, it was a fun buzz at first. And then, when you're broke, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Not fun anymore. Okay, our next question. How can family members best support a loved one struggling with addiction, and should they avoid doing so?
No, I think family is important. If for nothing else, then to encourage them. There are the people in my family who knew that I had an addiction, weren't always understanding. They used to say, "Well, I don't understand how come you can't just quit." Well, I sure want to. At that time,
Yeah.
that was pie in the sky. I could quit for the day.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. I
but tomorrow
want to
morning,
quit. I want
right?
to quit, but I want to
I want to.
use.
Yeah. But I want to use at that point. You nailed it. I want to
Yeah.
quit, but I can't wait to use tomorrow.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
and by the way, I'm clean now. It's been a long time since I did those things, but
Yeah.
it was a tough run when I was
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. I think AA and NA are very important for some people. I don't know if it's the people that need a little bit more guidance. But I actually woke up one day and said, this is crazy. So that doesn't work for everyone. There's more people that have to go through AA, NA, support systems, social workers, and everything else, support of the family, to really get them through that 90 minutes and 90 days and things like that. And those things are good. But I'm going to be honest, when I was in the era, when I went to a meeting, I left and went to use.
I know a lot of people with that in their story.
The glory, just sitting here around the table for an hour talking about this, it was like it was in my spirit when it was time to go. So
Sure.
for myself, I won't dare, like going to a drug house, I won't dare go into a meeting. And they're needed because more people get clean that way than what I've just mentioned. But my history and my experience is every time I left a meeting, I went and got high.
You're probably
So-
not the only one.
Yeah, so I would never go to a meeting. Today, 30-something years later, I'm not going to a meeting.
I get that.
But the most of society really needs that training, that listening, that competitiveness. So, what do you think of that?
I think the meetings offer the people who need it the kind of support that they need. Some people really need to be in an environment that's understanding but tough.
Right.
And you're not the only one doing it. For me, when I was doing mountains of my drug of choice was cocaine then, and when I quit November 4th or 5th, 1988. And you and I had very similar talk. I had to talk with God. I was like, listen, I could feel my essence slipping. I was dying. And it was a slow death. It wasn't painful, but I was weak physically, and emotionally, and because I knew what it was doing to my family. I lost one job because of it. I'm sure that's what it was. They didn't really say, well, your nose bled at the conference meeting. It's so embarrassing. I can't believe I can mention that out loud, but that really happened. My nose gushed blood. At the conference room table with the owner of the company, the new general manager, and it was a tough day.
Yeah.
And then I got fired on my 5-year anniversary. Hey, happy anniversary! Today's your last day. And I ended up I got another job about 30 days later, and I had begun to clean up. And I went and sat on the I like to fish, so I sat out in my metal boat and fried myself for a whole summer. But when I got done, I didn't have that. At first, I was kind of done with it. Well, that means I really wasn't done with it.
Right.
Or maybe it wasn't done with me.
Right.
And so I got a job in Washington, D.C., took my addiction with me.
Okay.
I was there 30 days, and on the 30th day, I had that conversation with God. And I said, we love to make deals with God. Hey, listen, if you do this, I won't do this anymore.
Right.
I said, listen, if you take this taste from me, I won't ever do it again. And I have not. That was, then I was, the next day I didn't have a desire for it. None at all. Haven't had a desire since. So I was
That's
a little
awesome.
different than other folks, because cocaine's hard to quit.
Oh yeah, it really is. Actually, I see people walking, and I wonder how many years they've been going through that, because after so many years, you feel hopeless.
Absolutely.
You feel hopeless. You feel like, and of course, everybody in your family is wrong. Why they picking on me? I don't know why they picking on me. I look good. I might be 89 pounds, but I
Right.
still look good.
And you might have stole your mama's television, but
Exactly. Didn't bring mama car back home. Daddy out looking for me.
Right.
All
Right.
kind of things. But the family structure is very, very, very important. I was an only child. My dad was 38 when I was born, so I was more so an old man's baby. And he went all the way with me. I have to thank God that he got to see that my head was put on right before he left the earth. But he was like, this ain't gonna get the best of me. I don't understand this, but it's gotta be something to take care of it.
Yeah.
So, just thinking of what my parents went through when I wasn't home and they hadn't seen me in a few days, what their thoughts were, better understand now that I have kids, But my dad would be 100 this year.
Oh, wow.
And I think so often, oh my God, I see now how valuable dads are in the home, because my dad was
Absolutely.
diligent that this is not going to get the best of me. He'd often say, baby girl, can you fly? Let's fly. Let's try. Let's fly.
Yeah.
So a family structure. And from the crack era, it broke down a lot of the family structure. So the next generation is kind of lost because the grandparents not instilling in them, because they're out chasing, because they've gotten caught up. So because of the family structure was tore down so drastically, I think that's why we're where we are right now. We need help in the family structure. The family structure needs help. I realize without my dad, I wouldn't be here.
Oh, I get that.
So you guys, you men are important.
Say that part again.
You men are important.
For the ones in the back who didn't hear you, she said, men are important.
Are important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely, I don't know what to say about today, what we could do. And, a lot of people that have recovered really don't know that they're valuable and they're needed in the community.
Absolutely. There's esteem issues go along with it too.
Yeah, and then we don't want nobody to know about our history. Sometimes we have to share. I remember waking up one morning and calling my dad saying, Dad, it's a wrap for me. He said, yeah, I heard that before. But, a year later and after that, he was like, baby girl, you got to tell the story. This is unbelievable. You got to tell the story. So now that he would be 100 this year, I feel obligated to tell my story.
I think it's a good thing you do.
Yeah.
My dad was 38 when I was born too.
Really? Okay, so he was an old man's baby.
But he marked me, really did. He really did. That's all right. I'm still standing. The family part though that we mentioned is so important. My beautiful wife, who has been my wife for 40 years,
Wow.
put up with a lot from me. particularly when I was out drugging, and it wasn't the infidelity that I wasn't interested in that. I was too busy packing my nose.
Right. Right.
And the conversation that we have now is, you spent all the money. I spent my bonus money, not my salary, and I spent my hustle money, and I was hustling. I made it, not illegally, but I did clubs, I did nightclubs. So
Right.
so I'm in the club all every weekend.
Right.
Part of my pay was in blow, and
Right.
the other part was in cash. And if I ran out of blow, I had cash. So, and I could get that at the club too. So
Yeah.
just that was I call that the devil's positioning. He put me in a situation where it was so easy to get it,
Right. Right. So
and
I
I could
look at,
afford it because I was getting my hustle on.
right. Right. I look at people as I drive, and you can tell who's addicted. And I say a prayer because
Yeah,
there's really nothing else you can do. We have numbers to call, we have places to go. Some of us have been through those places 10 times. But of course, you got to keep coming till it works, till it catch. But a lot of people feel doomed, like I've done this, it's not gonna help. And I understand, because I remember feeling hopeless.
that's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, I
Like I'm
remember.
never going to be able to do this. Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, this is unacceptable to my family. If I knocked on their door, they wouldn't let me in.
Well, first of all, they might not recognize you.
Exactly.
Yep.
But to know that my whole life and future would be disconnected from a family that has certain values, that they didn't deal with you if you didn't level up. They prayed for you, but they wasn't opening the door.
And then keep you at arm's length. I love
Exactly.
you over there.
Over
Right.
there,
Yeah, over there. Mhm.
over there. So I just say a prayer because I know how hopeless they could feel.
It's tough.
Yeah. So my beginning is to at least share that I have history there. A lot of people think they know, but I'm here to tell the story. And hopefully I can help someone else.
I'm certain of that.
Yeah, I can help
Those people-
someone else, and I can be the picture that from that to this is realistic. It's realistic. So what were you gonna say?
I had an occasion to, and it was one of the first times early in ministry for me. I was preaching at a church, and it was a kind of a bio sermon, but a telling on myself. And really the idea was to talk about how good God was and had been to me up to that moment. And when I asked Him to take that taste away from me, He did it. So I was preaching about that you put your trust in God, and then pray and stay faithful to it. And he does. He's active, and He will answer your prayers. And we always want it. I call it make Jesus, because I want it make now.
Right. Not later, like right now.
Right now. Bless me now. Give me $1 million in a new car, Jesus, and I won't do cocaine anymore.
Right.
Lies.
Yeah.
Yes, you will. Because
Yes,
the
you
first
will.
thing you can do is take your new whip and go to the drug dealer.
Yeah.
And pay him more money or her more money. But there was a guy there. I wrapped up, and my family was sitting in the pastor's office, and I was sitting. The pastor had said, "Listen, there's a guy that wants to talk to you." Well, I go back out, sit in the sanctuary, and this guy is boo-hooing. I'm talking about shudder cry.
Right.
And I said, what's going on? Your pastor said you wanted to see me. What's up? He said, how did you know to tell me that today? I didn't. How did you know to talk about that and tell me that I could get by because you had witnessed that, because you got by? How did you know? So I didn't know. I was not on it was my assignment to be here to do this, but God knew.
Right.
And so I've seen him since. He's a deacon of a church. He turned his life all the way around, and he is crushing it. And he's one of those guys that will tell you in a minute, listen, I know how you can fix that. Jesus can fix it for you. So if he's not, some people are not prepared to hear that. They don't want to hear that. Not right in their addiction. I didn't want to hear it when I was addicted. I was not, and my dad was a preacher, and my grandfather. I was not trying to hear.
Yeah, I heard that saying. I'm like, don't you think I just asked him? I mean, like, come on now, I done talked to him. So yeah, you got to believe and you got to put forth effort. I don't.
You got to be in it.
Yeah, you got to be in it. You got to be in it. The first year I changed I dropped all people. Would not go to bars or nothing unless it was a family gathering. I put myself in classes at WC3. I just made my whole life different. And then it worked. And later, in some time, I got my kids, and then I knew why God saved me.
You nailed it though. I had to leave a whole city. Yeah. To leave all those people behind. My friends.
Right.
And the truth is, they weren't really my friends. They were my get high buddies.
Right. Yeah.
And nice people as long as we had that thing in common.
Right.
But when I stopped, the only thing they could do is offer me more. Hey man, I got that. I told the last time I got offered that, I explained to them that I was going to call the police for them. Take that away. I don't want to see them. I told you I'm done. I'm done with it. So. But you gotta have that belief thing is important. It was important for me, and I was fledgling in my Christianity, even though my dad was a preacher.
Right. So. Right. Okay, Sai, thank you for taking time. You my brother. This is my brother, y'all, in case you didn't know. Taking time to share this platform with me.
My pleasure. Congratulations, too.
Thank you. And we'll see you soon. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next time. The Kimberly Bennett Show. If you're interested in being an advertiser or a sponsor of the Kimberly Bennett Show, the information will be on the bottom of your screen. Please contact us. Looking forward to you. If you want to find out more about being on the show, visit our website. The information is on the screen. Thank you for watching the Kimberly Bennett Show. See you next time.